our students. Can we do that? Let's see. Our first student that I think we should talk with is Sam Zhang. Sam, if you don't mind turning on your camera. Sam is a first-year student at University of Toronto. He is working on a double major in physics and economics with a minor in computer science. He's quite multi-talented. He has been teaching and playing chess since he was 11 for the most part. He learned, I guess, when you were 11. Is that right, Sam?
Yes, I originally learned when I was 11, and I've been teaching past like 4 or 5 years, I want to say.
Yes. Okay. He is I want to say your candidate master. This is, he's on deck to become a grandmaster. He's rated 2000, is it 23, 22 in the Canadian Chess Federation?
To
And
Canadian and around 2,200 the States.
23 to rated. That's right, the 23 to okay. Um, this is a US and Canada chess master, Canadian national master by rating. He was a chess club officer in school and a top physics competitor in high school, as well as a violinist in the New Jersey Youth Symphony, which is a premier ensemble. I'm not sure if you're familiar with New Jersey. It's quite incredible to get accepted into that and play there. And in university, where Sam has only been a short while, he's already an executive at Toronto's Chess Club and the floor president of his dorm. So first, Sam, tell us about your interest in chess. How did it start? What was it like for you in middle school and high school with your interest in chess?
A little bit about chess before we moved to the States, but I really started getting into it once I came to New Jersey. I moved here in fifth grade, and like fifth through eighth grade, I spent, I want to say, like half my time at home just watching chess videos, playing the game, doing puzzles. You could call it an obsession. It's something I loved. I spent a lot of time doing it for sure. And this whole chess club that I started sort of stemmed from how much I loved the game. I
Let's talk
decided,
about that. Yeah, the
sorry,
New Providence Chess Club. That's a name for those of you that don't know of a town in New Jersey, but it's not really a New Providence Chess Club only. It's the entire Union County that draws people. So tell us how that idea came to you. How did that start?
of course. It started actually with just me teaching chess. I had a lot of friends that wanted to learn, and um, when I got my name out there a little bit because of my competitions and my rating, there were people in the community that were interested in taking lessons. So I started teaching privately, and over the summer of ninth grade in high school, I decided, right, I have a lot of students, I might as well start a chess camp. So all 4 years in high school, actually, over the summer, I held a chess camp in my basement with a lot of local students. And past that first year, actually, my basement not so big. I didn't have enough space for everyone that wanted to come. So the natural progression was myself and my friend who taught with me. Her name is Emily Chan. We decided, let's start an initiative, go to the local library, maybe take their lecture room, take their lecture hall, and we'll be able to teach to a lot bigger of an audience. So we did that. We got in contact with the library and started holding programs.
How did that
Um,
work that you were able to, as students, contact the library and make that happen?
it's actually pretty straightforward. We went up there, we gave them our idea. We said, since we're using your space, it's going to be for free. It's for the community. We like doing this. It would be a joy for everyone involved. And they were completely okay with it. They loved it. Um,
How did you spread the word so that people knew about it?
so there are lots of ways to sort of network, but for me specifically, there's a lot of Facebook groups. Um, my mom and I, we made posts on the town Facebook group, Chinese community, libraries page, and they did their own sort of they spread the word also themselves through their website. We made an Instagram, made posts there, and just all the general social media. Put up some posters around town, and very well. It's a free program, so we got a lot of attention pretty quickly. It worked out.
And then it evolved because when I learned about it, it was in several places a week. So
And it
tell
did.
us the
It did.
story.
It didn't just end with the library. We figured that I've got time, you've got time, and there are a lot of people out there, not just in New Providence, that want to learn chess. So we just went around to a bunch of local organizations, cafes. It started with a froyo place in town. I was friends with the owner, so I asked her, all right, Friday nights, let's do a chess event every single week. And that's how that started. There's also a cafe in Summit, another town in New Jersey nearby that I would frequent. Talk to the owner again. One of my friends, whose mother was friends with the owner, really helped that process get along. Um, and also, we have plans in the works with a senior center also in our town to hold events there. Um, Later on, we actually, as you might have seen before, turned the organization into a nonprofit, which helped immensely with creating new events and forming those relations with organizations. Um,
Now, the 501c3 you're talking about,
yes, the
you
501c3.
so for a number of years you operated without that official designation. And then I
Yes,
believe was it an elementary school wanted to hire you. So
that's right.
what did that mean? Can you explain about that? Because that's something people don't always realize. As a nonprofit, as you're volunteers, but you also sometimes have some revenue because there's costs.
Mhm.
And
Of course.
explain how that worked.
So in our first years, the idea we flirted with a little bit about becoming a nonprofit and signing on, but there wasn't any real reason for us to do it. It is a lot of paperwork. It's you have to put an effort to do it, and the gain you might not see immediately. But 2 years into it, in my end of sophomore, start of junior year, the local elementary school, um, the organizer of the PTA brought their kids to our chess club. We talked, and she thought it would be a great idea to start an organization, like cross-organization event in the elementary school itself, where we would go after school hours and teach chess. But the issue was the school needed us to be a legitimate organization first. So that's where the um, idea sort of blossomed into actually happening. We did the paperwork, and that fall, we were able to begin teaching at the school. Um, Finally bring home some revenue for the chess club. We taught a group of 25 elementary school students. We had a group of 3 going there every single week. And not only did it help with setting all of that up, it sort of added some legitimacy to the club and made it easier to contact places like the YMCA, the senior center in town, and generally just adds a lot of, it adds some value to the organization name.
And so for those of you who are thinking of starting a 501c3, it does require a board of directors to be age 18 or older. So just to say, Sam is on the board and the president right now, but when we started it, Sam was, I think, under 18. But I think that it's kind of a beautiful legacy because now the board, while it started being people that were not the original founders, it's now all the original founders of your fellow students, isn't it? Because they're all the ones
It
that
is, yeah.
are
Everyone
over
is 18
18.
now,
Yeah.
thankfully.
And it's still existing. You want to tell us about your legacy?
I'm not in New Providence anymore. I'm up in Toronto, quite far away, but the club is still going on as strong as ever. In fact, it's Deborah's son, actually, Max, who is leading the club now. Myself and the other past members who have all moved away are still board members and helping from afar, but the club is going strong, still having its weekly events. And from what I hear from Max, there's a lot more planned. It's a lot in the works, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The school's having you guys come back. They're doing lessons every week, and
Lessons
it's
again. That's
also
right.
happening in 3 other places. So yes, are there any, I know this is a tough question to answer, but lessons, mistakes, advice that you would give students who are thinking of following their passion in this way?
I don't think I have any regrets about the path I took, but I do know, at least from hearing from a lot of friends and hearing their stories, that there is a very common mistake, I think, when it comes to starting an organization or an initiative like this. And what it is trying to be someone you're not. A lot of like sort of college prep organizations or a lot of counselors will tell you there's XYZ and you need all three of them. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to start an organization, build this something big. And I think that's the wrong motivator. All of these are fantastic things, don't get me wrong. To be part of a nonprofit is something I'm very grateful for and helping a lot of people. It's good work, it's work I love. But the core of that is because I love playing chess, I love teaching chess, and it's something I've been doing for a long time. So the lesson I have to share is that when you want to make something happen, it has to come from inside of you and not from someone else. The most brilliant, successful students out there that get into great colleges aren't people that fit into a mold. They aren't people that tried um, turning their high school life into the perfect college student, college applicant. They're people that found something they loved, found something they're skilled at, or maybe somewhere in between, and out of passion and genuine interest, turned it into something fantastic. When you don't have that passion in you, it's a lot harder to actually make something happen. You don't have the right motivations. You don't have an actual interest in what you're doing. So I urge everyone listening not to do something they don't truly want to do, because down the line, it's going to become something that's very unfulfilling and not turn out well.
Thank you. That is great advice because it's work and it's to use an economics term that you've probably learned, it's an opportunity cost, right? Any time you spend doing one thing is time you're not doing something else. So to do something that you think you should do as opposed to something you want to do could be really a regret later, right? And
Exactly.
and it's also wonderful, just to share that it's contagious if you have an interest and then you find other people with that interest. There's a synergy that I felt that I saw with Sam and his co-founders. The other students, he mentioned Emily, Noah, there's these students that they came together and that their interest got bigger, I think, because of what you guys were able to do together. It was pretty beautiful. And it was in person in an era when a lot isn't in person. So if you could hold on, you can turn off your camera, Sam, but hold on if anyone has
Thank
questions
you
for
very
you afterwards. I'd love to introduce Akash. Akash Dubey, he's a first year student. Hello, Akash. He is at Rutgers Honors College studying mathematics and computer science with a minor in quantitative economics. So this is both of these students, they were in high school together, and it seems it was a good high school if it brought the two of you guys there with your multiple majors. He's on track to graduate in just 3 years, which I'm just very proud of him. When he was in high school, he was president of his school's math club, math league, which was a competitive team. He was programming manager for the robotics team. In addition, he was part of newspaper club, coding club, and the National Honor Society. Right now, I believe, are you participating in the Collegiate Fed Challenge at the Federal Reserve Bank? Is that right?
Yep,
Did I say that?
exactly. I was all part of the Rutgers's like submission to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a pin in that. I want you to explain that real quick. And I know you've only been in school a few weeks, so you're looking to find more activities. And if we were to check in with you in a few weeks, I'm sure there'd be a long list. But to back up in time, um, Akash did volunteer with Samaritan Scout and he developed his skills that he already had at an incredible level as a software developer. But before that, you were already basically a software developer on your own. Can you tell us about your background, your interest in coding and computer
Yeah,
science?
so I'd say it all started from like middle school. I did FLL, which if you don't know is the first Lego League. And so I learned a lot about like robotics and specifically programming. Even though like programming for FLL isn't too complicated, when I used to come back like from school on the weekends, what I do is I'd make these like random like programming projects just to I guess play around with how coding works. And I kind of really like my interest in programming blossomed during COVID, which is when I had a lot of time to just like make projects. That's the best way to learn how to code, honestly, making projects. And so after like playing Minecraft for like 3 months straight, I got really bored of that, and then I just started learning how to code programming. And so at first, my projects weren't too crazy. I learned how to code in Python. I learned how to make basic websites. I also played around with like Arduino stuff. But this is like something that you can do like on the weekends to try to develop your skills like in an area like this. And it just like grew over time as I kept spending more weekends on projects and like spending time over the summer. I naturally just like gained knowledge about programming.
Is there a little bit more you could tell us about how you, when you say you did projects, what were you using? Were you, if you don't mind giving a couple specifics so that people can look for that. Is it a
Oh yeah, sure, I
platform, do
got
you
you.
know?
Yeah, so initially when I was first starting out, I was following a lot of like YouTube tutorials online. Like you can find a dozen Python tutorials and just following along with the projects that they have given there. And basically slowly as I improved my skills, I went from tutorials to creating things that like I guess I wanted to make. So for example, initially I made like a number guessing game. I think that was like a tutorial project. And then from there on out, I wanted to make like a Sudoku solver. And I there are tutorials on how to make that, but I tried making it myself. And then when I failed, then I'd look at like how other people made like Sudoku solvers and stuff. And similarly, I learned how to make websites just because like I wondered, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I had my own website? And so I started with like following tutorials, but then I learned about how I could customize those things to fit like my needs. And I guess later on, that's not later on I could talk about like the specific things I applied programming to.
Well, yeah, let's shift to, so all of that was before I had you on the team. Can you explain to people how that happened? How did that come about? And why did you want to do this? Or what did you get out of it?
Yeah, so basically in sophomore and junior year, I was a pretty or yeah, junior year I'd say. I was a pretty like confident programmer. And what I mean by this is that I could look at a new language or look at a new like I guess technology and then try to understand it by myself and then be able to like use it after like reading over it for a while. And so the reason why I wanted to like volunteer for Samaritan Scout was one because I didn't know how to program in React and that's basically a framework for making websites. This I don't want to be too technical, but basically, I didn't know how to make websites in this way, and also I was really interested in the AI and machine learning aspects of Samaritan Scout, and I wanted to just like expand my like I guess knowledge base just in that area. Basically, all of my projects have like worked to expand like what I know, and I feel like I'm a very curious person, and so just like spending hours and hours on projects like this, just like I guess I like spending time on things like this.
And so when you joined the team as American Scout, what were you thinking it was going to be?
Well initially so a lot of my projects I just like kind of make and then they don't have as much of an impact in the world as I like thought they would have. But for Samaritan Scout it was different because it since I was in a group of people all working on this like one I guess like website, right? It grew and grew and grew and eventually like it has data from like so many different states now. I think we recently added Washington DC and it just kind of it grew in a way that I didn't expect it would. And so when I was first starting out, I thought I would just be like making a couple of pages and then like I wasn't really too sure where it would go from there, but now it's like it's gotten really big and I'm proud of it.
So what advice would you give to students, whether they're interested in coding or some other skills to apply, uh, if they're looking, because the reason I'm asking is because that uncertainty is entrepreneurialism. You never know sometimes whether it's going to work out or not. You seem to have worked
Yeah.
on a number of things.
Yeah, so at least for me, I a lot of my I guess interests were self-guided, like self-motivated. And like my parents didn't tell me to do anything or I didn't like buy a course or anything to learn something. But what I would suggest doing is just like starting somewhere, like maybe just start with that 1 hour Python tutorial on YouTube, make something, and then see where like your mind takes you. If you want to make something else, like related to that. If you want to make a website, watch a tutorial on how to make a website and then try to like customize it for what you want to do. I guess the biggest piece of advice that I have is to, I guess, look at all the free resources that are out there. So that for machine learning, at least, there's this one website called Hugging Face, and you can find a lot of free open source machine learning models on there for a bunch of different tasks. And if you want to get into ML, just understand how it works. That's one excellent website. I also know a lot about data science, and Kaggle is another great website for that. It has a lot of data sets and it has courses on how to learn. Um, free coding camp is great, and there's also like Code Academy. I haven't really used that one. I guess I could list some more I
Maybe
guess
you could put those
resources.
in the chat as resources for people. And I do have
Uh-huh.
another question because I know
Yeah.
your volunteering soul is well beyond just the coding. Can you tell about the volunteering project you did related to ESL?
Yeah, so basically for ESL, I'm actually born in India, and so my parents are immigrants, and so whenever like my parents would be out like talking to people, I would notice like I guess small mistakes in like their accent and their pronunciation of words, and I'd always like correct them. And basically since then, like I was kind of like an ESL instructor at home, English as a second language instructor at home. And so one day I was like out in my local like community center. It's called like The Connection, and I saw that they were running like ESL classes. So me and one of my buddies, we decided to sign up and we were teaching ESL there for a while, I think a year and a half, like something like that. And basically the way being an ESL instructor works is that you work in these small groups with people who don't know English, and usually there's like worksheets, you have conversations with them, and you teach them the basics of like English, like lesson by lesson, and you do it over a long period of time. And eventually, like ESL is really important because it can have like a profound impact on people's lives because for some people, English might be a barrier preventing them from getting a promotion, becoming like a manager in wherever they work. And there's just so many people there. It's a really nice place to volunteer. So I'd highly recommend it for anyone who's looking to get into volunteering. And so I guess another thing that I was able to do with ESL is to combine my interest with programming into that. And so basically what I ended up doing was I made like a ChatGPT voice assistant thing before that was a thing. And I tried using that in some of our ESL, what's it called, classes to try to give people extra practice. It kind of worked out, but then ChatGPT had other plans and they added that. And so now students are using that. And then what else did I do? I did a couple of other things. You can check out my like LinkedIn and stuff if you're interested. I have a lot of projects there. But yeah, anyways.
It's true. It would take a while to go through all the projects, but you do have a website. So that's cool. If you want to put any of the resources you listed in the chat, that'd be great. And we're going to
Okay,
circle
sure, I'll do
back to
that.
you for questions. Thank you so much, Akash. You can turn off your camera, but don't go away just yet. I'd like to introduce you all to Sophia DePaul. Sophie, and I should say that she is my daughter. So she's the one that did inspire the Samaritan Scout. And she's currently a second year student at Harvard. She's studying math and physics. She's involved in data analytics too, as Akash mentioned. That's definitely a hot field that's very interesting for people whose minds are very good in terms of analytics. She leads tours at Harvard. There's an organization called the Crimson Key that she volunteers with. So that means she's running activities for freshman orientation and parent weekend. And she also writes for the Indy, a weekly newspaper. Today, you're going to tell us about two projects that you created as a volunteer when you were in high school. But to back up, I think that it's worth sharing a little bit about what it's like to volunteer when you're not the one creating it, and so that you can learn a little bit about best practices. And I believe it was with Reeves Reed Arboretum. Sophie, can you tell us a little bit about what you found valuable about that, why you would recommend doing something like that?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Sophie. When I was in high school, I was volunteering at Reed Street Arboretum. So that was like a community garden in a nearby town. And I kind of got into it because I wanted to volunteer outdoors and just kind of show up somewhere and they just tell you what to do. And it was really great. It was very well organized. When you were a volunteer, like all you had to do basically was show up and they would teach you a task. And so we'd be gardening or we'd be decorating or we'd be digging up dead plants. And it was very social and it was a great experience. And I really enjoyed it. And this was kind of a framework for me creating my own project. So I used to play piano in high school a lot and I really liked it, but I wasn't really looking to go down a competitive path. I really just loved performing and making music for people. And I worked on this project with my piano teacher where we would bring other musically talented friends. So a lot of my friends sung and played other instruments, a lot of piano, and we brought them together and decided to plan performances at assisted living facilities where, you know, you've got older people who just want to kind of see young faces and enjoy some music and have someone to talk to. And so that's what we kind of did. So we would like get together and we would come and show up prepared to perform with like our different pieces. And sometimes it was collaborative, like a duet or singing and piano, and basically just perform for them. And it was really fulfilling because, oh, I was just going to say, it was, they were very excited to see a bunch of like young people show up and act interested. And yeah.
Can you make a connection though, if you don't mind, between how you were able to, at Reeves Reed, you would show up as a volunteer and someone else was doing all the operations versus when it was you that were doing the operations? Like, how do you didn't just show up at the assisted living, for example. So this is why I think it's a bit of an evolution sometimes for students to get to the point where they can create things, right? So you had it organized for you at Reeves Reed, and what did you have to do to make it happen with the music?
So I basically had to come up with a program for what was going to happen when we were there for a certain number of time. And I had to call these assisted living facilities. You know, not all of them were open to this idea, especially coming out of COVID. You know, you've got people worried about being sick. But I finally found one that would let us come and we talked to them and like booked a time slot. And then from there, I had to figure out, okay, who's going to play, when, who am I going to reach out to? And I basically reached out to them. I'm like, hey, can you pull together like this certain block of time of music? Because, you know, you don't want one person just going the whole time. You don't want, you know, no one else getting to play or having too long of a program. So we basically, it was like scheduling the program and then finding the people to fill the slots and basically scheduling everything for them. So if you wanted to volunteer with me, it was easy. You could just, you know, sign up and do your talent.
That's something that I think that Sam has done really well with the chess club. You create that framework so that people can more easily volunteer with you. And that's an interesting step, I think, along the way of being able to start your own project, your own club. Well, when you had some time over the summer after you graduated high school, you had a very different approach, whereby it was that third category that I was sharing with people, where you weren't driven to apply a specific skill or to support a specific cause, but you knew you wanted to have a local impact. So starting with that, what did you do? How did you make a project from that bit of openness and lack of clear, specific definition?
Great. So I knew I wanted to give a lot of time over the summer for some projects and have an impact on the local community. So I searched for local nonprofits, and this was before Samaritan Scout, so it was Google, and I had to do a lot of sifting through stuff that was like bad results with two big companies that like didn't really need me. And I realized that a lot of large nonprofits or agencies are like umbrellas for smaller organizations, and I wanted to help a smaller organization somewhere that I could have a personal impact, as opposed to just something really big. And I listed a bunch of skills that I had, some technical skills I had from high school and my ability to solve problems and write, and I sent it to people at each organization. And basically I also called afterwards to follow up and left a voicemail. And finally someone got back to me and put me in touch with an organization that I had never heard of. It was called the Jewish Historical Society, and it was under the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West, which is a huge organization that does a lot of different nonprofit projects. But the Jewish Historical Society basically had a lot of really important documents and stuff in their archives, interviews, journals, speeches, newspaper clippings, and it was all like in paper, right? They had physical archives that they wanted to make accessible for everyone. So the project I took on with that was basically like trying to get all of these things online in a searchable database so people could do research, so they could see like, a speech their great grandparents gave, or they could do their own research into the community. And so it was a lot of transcripts and scanning and organizing and kind of administrative tasks, but it was a lot of work, and I was able to finish it over the summer. And there was a lot of really interesting history there that I felt that I benefited from, and now other people can search through the archive and access it as well.
Thank you. I think that that's another way that people can use Scout or any searching that they're doing. A lot of nonprofits in our communities are overworked, under-resourced, and so they might not have specific activities that they're promoting and say, come join our team on this or that project. But we as potential volunteers can reach out. And I think what Sophie did is what I'm recommending to a lot of students now, which is just put yourself out there. They have problems that they know need addressing, and they'd be glad for you to be taking the lead. So this is an opportunity for you to have that impact, develop your skills. And I think also what is interesting to me is you can discover your passions, because you might not fully have them. I think it's a wonderful thing when you have them. And as Sam said, that's like what we all want, right? That's the best use of our time. But we're also growing and evolving. So sometimes it seems a little rough for every child to be expected to have a fully defined passion. So we can use these opportunities